Hey, welcome back to
Hey,
the show. Hey, Gigi. Hey, Shakar. Welcome to the show. This is AWS On Air, our weekly show that brings you the latest and greatest from AWS. Today we have Shakar Hirschberg here to talk about GuardDuty. Shakar, why don't you say hello, introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone, and Todd, Gigi, thank you so much for hosting me today. Super excited to have this chance to cover what we recently launched. So I'm Shakar. I'm Senior Product Manager on Amazon GuardDuty, and my main job is to help customers secure their AWS environment. And we'll speak more about that today, but that's what I'm excited about most.
Cool.
very
And
nice. Well, you also, we were talking about this right before, moonlight as an AWS OnAir guest because this is your fourth time.
I think
Not,
we got to start like I know SNL does like the 5-timer jacket club. We got to
yeah,
like you do it one more time. We're gonna have to
we'll
get you.
send you a jacket. We'll get you. It's similar to if you know that jacket you get if you have all the AWS certifications, the
Yeah.
gold, shiny, metallic jacket.
I've never heard of this. What?
Oh, Todd, you got to get in on the club. You're an SA.
I've got
If you
4
go to reInvent,
certifications. I gotta get. How many do I need to get?
all of them, literally all of them, which is a lot of them. But if you go to reInvent, there'll be people walking around Las Vegas with these very gold, shiny AWS jackets on. So maybe we can get maybe like a platinum, so that way it's a step above the AWS cert,
I like
and
where
get
this
a
is going.
platinum jacket for Shahar.
That sounds awesome. And then next time I'm coming on, I can come with the
You'll be
jacket.
glowing. Yeah.
We'd only have to make like a couple of them because I think you're probably the most
Only
featured.
one.
There's one jacket
Really?
you're gonna get it.
It's just for you, but you have to pass it off once you surpass 5 and someone else meets 5.
Oh, cool, Shakar. So for
That's good.
our guests who might be watching who don't know what guard duty is, could you please just give them a brief overview? What is guard duty?
Yeah, 100%. So GuardDuty is one of the native security services that AWS offers, and it helps customers detect threats to their cloud environment. And what really stands out about GuardDuty is that the experience is really easy, like it's a really managed experience, easy to enable, easy to get the insights. We call these detection findings, and ensure you work on them to improve your security. And would it be helpful if I'll talk about kind of journey? Because GuardDuty is actually a very big product today, and it really
Yeah.
evolved over the past 6 years.
Sure.
So when it started, GuardDuty covered, and that's like 6 years ago, GuardDuty covered the CloudTrail, VPC flow logs, and DNS logs, which means it already provided very good comprehensive visibility across control plane as well as network activity in the cloud environment. And then when it detected abnormal activity, so to give an example, if we saw some crypto mining activity happening on the instance, or if we saw someone logging in with credentials from a new location or at a very odd hour of the day, stuff like that, it will give an indication on that. So the security team can make sure that's the proper access, and just that it's not a malicious intent. Now, over the past few years, GuardDuty really expanded to ensure customers get even more extensive visibility across their both compute, storage, and network setup. So once you turn on GuardDuty today, you have an option to choose across a variety of protection plan. We started from the foundational protection, and then we expanded to data stores such as S3. So for example, you can turn on GuardDuty with just a few clicks and detect if someone is performing, for example, data exfiltration from your S3 buckets. We also extended, as customers onboarded to the cloud, and start using containers more and more, we also offer protection for containers. So we now have protection for EKS and ECS. And in EKS, you have both control plane protection and runtime protection. And we'll talk a lot about runtime protection today. And we also have protection for Lambda and that overall, all of these different protection plans, the goal is to help people who want to secure their cloud environment. And, it could be the security team, it could be the developer, which is minded for security. Just make it as easy as possible to detect threats. And the way a customer once told me, and I kind of like that metaphor, that they think about GuardDuty for their cloud is what miners like 100 years ago used canaries in the coal mine, because it's like you turn this on, and then when something is bad, like something bad might be happening, you just get an early indication. It's very easy for you to identify if something bad is going on, and then dive deeper, see if it's really suspicious or actually malicious activity, and make sure you take care of it before it can become a business impacting event.
Sure. So okay. So, GuardDuty is you get to GuardDuty through the console, right? Is that right? So it's a service in the console that you can go to. You can enable this, and it will monitor your at an account level various services that you might be using for anomalies or threats, and you've got prescriptive checks that GuardDuty will go through to make sure that your account is staying secure. Is that sum it up pretty good?
Yeah, and actually, it's actually a good point that you raised, because we can turn on GuardDuty for a specific account, but also, especially for enterprises and larger organizations, GuardDuty has an integration with AWS organizations, so you can actually turn GuardDuty across your entire organization with just a few clicks. You don't have to go into every account to turn it on. You can just very simple, enable across, and we will also ensure that this stays consistent. So as new members onboard to your organization, GuardDuty will automatically be enabled across these accounts that are a part of your AWS organization.
Nice. Gigi, I'm sorry, you're going to say something you were going to ask?
Oh, I was just going to ask, when you are looking at which AWS services this can be tracking, is that turn it on for all of them? Is it expensive to turn it on for all of them and you just want to turn it on for a few? What's that, I guess, first step in choosing where this is protecting you?
Yeah, it's a great question. So first, security is job zero at AWS. So we wanted to make sure that you wouldn't need to think twice or thrice when you enable GuardDuty. So the service is very cost effective, let's put it that way. Now, what we typically recommend customers is to enable it for if they know they use specific types of compute or storage. So to enable it for these types of services that we're using, if we have specific protection, such as GuardDuty ECS protection. But honestly, even if they don't use it yet, for example, maybe the customer, they're planning on starting using containers next year, but today they're still using EC2s, for example, and what they can do is to enable GuardDuty for EKS, and GuardDuty, since the pricing is usage based, unless there is actual activity, we won't pay for anything. So you can ensure that today you're in the mindset of, okay, I'm configuring my security services, so let's enable GuardDuty, make sure I have consistent threat detection protection, and enable it also for EKS. And you're not paying for anything until the day where someone starts using EKS in your organization. And that allows you to ensure that you are protected from the very first moment. Because, especially in cloud native and cloud forward organizations, the organization is very independent, right? So the security team is central, but developers can do things very fast in the cloud. So by enabling, for example, EKS, even if you don't use EKS yet, you can ensure that the moment someone starts spinning up and using this kind of service, you'll be protected from the very first moment, even if you don't use it today.
So, Shakar, today, so I understand today you've got something new for us, and we just heard from one of our guests. Petroleum says he's currently using AWS for EC2 and Route 53, and he's liking it. So we're actually talking about EC2 today, right? We're talking about runtime monitoring. So my understanding, I'm a visual person. I kind of need to see the console and see how it works, get hands on with it. What do you say we get into that?
Yeah, so let me share my screen. And now, can you see my screen okay?
We can.
Yeah.
Okay, and no, it's still a problem, even like always. So now I'm inside the AWS console, and more specifically within the GuardDuty service, within the AWS console. And I'm using it via the console, but you can also enable GuardDuty via CloudFormation and APIs and use it from there as well. But today I'm going to focus mainly on the console. So inside GuardDuty, right now I'm in the summary page, which kind of gives you, as a GuardDuty user, the high-level understanding of what's going on in your cloud environment, specifically around GuardDuty detected threats. And you can see, for example, okay, I have this amount of high-severity findings, and then click to quickly look at these high-severity findings and get some dashboards around most common finding types. So in this example, we see, oh, I have 3 findings around crypto mining activity. I know that crypto mining activity might make me pay more for my compute. So I should check that and first, ensure there is no malicious activity going on. And if so, turn it off so I won't pay extra. And also probably check how it got to be executed from the first place. Now, in this summary page, you can also see the coverage of which GuardDuty protection plans you have enabled across the different accounts in your organization. And today we came to speak about runtime monitoring. So runtime monitoring, we started going into that journey, let's put it that way, a year ago. And we started from runtime monitoring for EKS, added ECS on Fargate, just like 3 or maybe 5 months ago. And then 2 weeks ago, we released general availability for runtime monitoring for EC2. And what does runtime monitoring really means, in practice? And
you stole the question right out of my head. I was just getting ready.
What exactly is runtime monitoring?
What is runtime monitoring?
You give a basic explanation, and then we can build up from there.
100%. So runtime monitoring means that GuardDuty launches a lightweight security agent. So basically software running on your instance, and it can be your EC2 instance or a side container in ECS, Fargate, or also, like I mentioned, we also have it for EKS. And that agent allows us to gain more visibility into what is going on the machine. So we track operating system activities such as network events, file access, events, and processes that are active and being killed. And that allows us to get better security insights. And this is why the customers, you as customer cares about it, because now we can detect things that we couldn't detect before. Because before, GuardDuty, and it still is, consuming all the different logs from the services that it is protecting. So we could tell you, hey, you had a crypto miner on an EC2 instance. But now, because we have the agent, we can tell you, and we'll see an example in a moment, we can tell you, hey, you have a crypto mining activity going on that EC2 instance, and process X is the specific one that is causing this activity, and show you all the different, all the lineage of the different processes that cause this one to trigger. So you get much higher visibility across what's going on in your AWS compute, and then you can more easily respond and remediate these threats. And
Shakar,
Does it answer your question? Should I tell more?
That's a good intro, but I want to kind of highlight something I think is the first time that's ever happened to me on this show. Your influence. Oh, look at the bubbles coming back. Your influence, maybe it's because it's your first time here, is really having an impact, because we had a comment and that just came in. That latest cloud player said that they just enabled it in 2 clicks. GuardDuty enabled, runtime monitoring enabled, super nice, running on EKS and EC2 instances. I mean, that's probably the fastest turnaround for a new feature I've ever seen on this show.
That's the best salesperson I've ever seen.
Not bad, Shakar. Dude, the cool jacket, you might have to get a hat too, I think.
Yeah, we'll look into it. They're on Amazon.com.
So getting back on track. So runtime monitoring, we actually can monitor the EC2 instance as it's running for suspicious activity closer to the process to call out specifically what suspicious activity might be running on that EC2 instance.
Yeah, so let's talk about since I enable it, which can't wait to hear the feedback, by the way. So let's see how you actually enable it, because this is something which is kind of unique for GuardDuty, which we wanted to make the enablement as easy as possible. So you won't need to think about anything. And, agents at times can be quite some work to install on each machine and maintain and update and all of that. So we wanted to take all of that undifferentiated work away from customers. And this is why the runtime monitoring in GuardDuty comes with automated agent management. So now I'm within the runtime monitoring page, and as I choose to enable the different features, and you can see here that we can enable it for EKS, ECS, and EC2, which is the one that we just launched. So you can enable it for all the accounts, and specifically the automated agent management. And that means that in basically 2 clicks, you can choose to enable it across all the accounts in your organization. GuardDuty will ensure that as new accounts come in, they will be onboarded as well. We will already install the agent, upgrade it, maintain any maintenance that is required, and you don't need to think about it. You need to just handle the security findings, basically the insights that you get as a result of what we monitor. And this is something which was really important for us, because GuardDuty, we always think about it as just a few clicks to enable across everything, and that's it. You don't need to think about it anymore.
I have a question on that agent. How heavy is it? Like if I choose my EC2, do I have to choose a size up because I know this agent's coming? Or is it really, really slim? How hefty is it, and how do you guys do that?
Yeah.
Based on what you went with.
It's a fantastic question. And we use eBPF technology, which means, in a nutshell, that it's very light, non-blocking technology that allows us to have as minimal as possible performance impact. And the exact impact varies, because you could have an EC2 instance with barely to no activity. You could have one with like a lot of network traffic. You could have one with a lot of file writes and reads, stuff like that. So it varies. But what is nice is that first, we always strive to keep the impact as minimal as possible, but we also give you the option to configure the agent. So if and typically security teams work on it with their application teams. So if your organization is good with X amount of impact of CPU memory usage, you can configure that and ensure that the agent will never exceed this bar. So you have the control. We can handle, the kind of installing, updating all of these things, but you have the control over the actual impact it has in your system. And even for you don't have to do it, but if you want, you're able to do it.
Got it. Thank you. Sorry, Todd, I did interrupt you.
No, not at all. I think you're starting a craze here, Shakar. We just had another comment saying they enabled it with just a click. So obviously, this is you're killing it, man. This is great. So we've got a couple of folks already. It is easy. You just click a button and it turns it on. And then what I heard you just say is once it's on, you still have some control. You still have some some things you can do in maybe a more advanced situation.
Exactly.
Ooh, here's a good question coming in actually while we're on that topic. I don't know if we're able to highlight it, but what OS is the agent good for? Does it work on all OSs?
Yeah, great question. So right now we support Amazon Linux, and we are continuously adding new OS support. We'll have Ubuntu very soon, and we are going to extend it to additional ones throughout the year. But we are, as always, we want to hear your thoughts. We want to hear your feedback. So if you have any specific operating systems that are top of mind for you, just let us know. You can even drop it in the chat, and we'll make sure to prioritize it as we add the new ones.
Yeah, and I think that's something we can never talk about enough is from the product side. Every feature, every decision is really driven by customer need, customer ask. So if you're not vocalizing it, whether it's in the chat, on different platforms, through your account team, if you have one for AWS, however you like to communicate with AWS, let us know what you want, because it really does make an impact, and we do care about the feedback.
Yeah. So there is one more thing I want to show before we continue this nice Friday. Oh man, classic. Just give me a moment.
Oh, that was my fault. That was my extra comment put you over the edge. We could.
Hey, this is part of it. We're live, and there's no pre-recorded, there's no scripted demos. Everything is live. So sometimes it's sometimes out, and that's a security feature, right? Like, when I'm working with customers, I'm always saying there's two things I need you to absolutely do. One, turn on multi-factor authentication for your root account. That's like gotta do that. It's surprising some people don't do that. And then two, turn on GuardDuty. In this bubble, I'm fighting. Has anybody figured out how to turn off these reaction things? I keep doing thumbs up.
Yeah, I think you can. I think it's at the top of your, the very top of your screen. There's a green camera.
Maybe somebody in the audience knows if they've upgraded their MacBook and they know how to actually permanently delete this feature besides downgrading my Mac.
Yeah. So
let us know.
So two short things I want to quickly show. First, together with this release, we also added 5 new runtime detections, and we continuously add new ones. Now we have like 36, if I remember correctly, and we're just adding new ones all the time. And one cool thing that we released now is support for command line arguments, so we can see if someone executed suspicious commands. So in this example, we saw a suspicious command, and we could, for example, detect, hey, someone is trying to download files. And it's not, it could be, for example, a container when you shouldn't have that happening. And then we can also detect when you have malicious execution of files and activities. So let's take this example. We saw that a crypto miner was executed, and it just started to connect the dots because we build the visibility and you can track the journey and also get that visibility, for example, the one I mentioned on the lineage. So you can see that a crypto miner was executed, and you can see all the different levels, all the different processes that happened along the way till that one happened. So that level of really unmatched deep visibility is the advantage of the runtime monitoring, which, like, you'll know anyway. Like, GuardDuty really have comprehensive support, but we just made it even deeper, if it makes sense.
That does make sense. That is so cool and so helpful to, like, without this, it would be so hard to know what's going on, especially inside a container if someone tried to download something, for example. Like, that would be a really, I think, hard thing to keep track of if you think of how large some of our customers, footprints are on AWS. And so this really boils it down for you, which is awesome.
Yeah. So, for example, before you could say, hey, you could know, hey, I have a crypto mining activity happening on an instance, but you can have like 100 containers running on that instance. But now you can understand exactly which container did the malicious activity happen and get all the visibility about the processes that were enabled along the way until that adverse impact happened. So really much granular visibility.
Makes such a difference and saves so much time. Really. Saves money and time. Todd, you look like you're itching to ask a question. You're doing the newscaster hands. You're ready
I'm just keeping up. It's Friday. I'm on the East Coast here in Pittsburgh, and it's about the end of the day, man. This Celsius really isn't working. I do have a question. There was a question in the chat earlier about is this impacted at all by auto scaling? Some folks have auto scaling involved. They scale up ECS or and use EC2 instances. Does it automatically turn it on when you're scaling up and down?
Yeah, it's, you spin up new instances. It comes alive with them. You turn them off. It goes down. You only pay for actual activity time. So if it's, the instance is down, you're not going to pay anything for it. So fully supported. I actually did want to show something kind of adjacent to it, where we have a runtime coverage page, and that allows you to monitor all the different instances or clusters that we are protecting with the runtime protection and ensure that there is no issue. And as I mentioned, we do offer automated edge management, but if you want, for example, to install for EC2 instances, if you want to install the agent manually, you can also do that. You have the flexibility, you have the optionality. And this page helps you troubleshoot anything that is not that is causing the agent to not behave as expected. And here I set up a demo environment, so I already made it a bit more interested. But generally speaking, it should be all healthy. Yeah, I'm like, okay, let's make it interesting.
It's the only demos where it's like, yes, we want things to be wrong. It's the security demos.
Right.
We're cheering on crypto mining and unhealthy instances.
Yeah. So in this page, you can see exactly the instance ID, which accounts it relates to, whether it's managed automatically or manually. And then if you have an issue, so many times we'll just give you the guidance. For example, hey, the SSM, the AWS System Manager instance association execution failed. So you get a link to the page where it guides you exactly what to fix, and you can ensure that everything is set up properly. So the different components, to kind of recap, you can enable it, automated or manually, and then view that everything is behaving okay in the coverage page. And you get the insights, the detections, which we call findings, in the findings page, that you can really go and work on the ones that, the events that you want to make sure don't turn into a business compromising event. And if you want to get kind of the high-level picture of how am I doing, you can go to the summary page and you can see for the last week, for example, how am I doing week over week.
It's a bad week.
And this wasn't a good week for my demo environment.
Hey, Shakar, I've got another question from you. This one's coming from a chat. We're getting a lot of engagement on this from the chat. A lot of good questions coming in. Here's another one from Dale Watts. Been using GuardDuty for a while and have implemented some Lambda functions for automation. Does this agent also support automations through Lambda?
Great question. So the findings that are generated are sent also to EventBridge, and then from EventBridge, you can set up an automated workflow with a Lambda function. So you can say, hey, something bad happened on this machine. It was detected with the agent. We send notification to EventBridge. The event is sent to a Lambda function, and then the Lambda function, for example, remediates the instance or does whatever you want to do based on the given event. So if you set up automation, it should work really smoothly with everything set up so far.
No, EventBridge is the glue that holds it together.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay, so this is Shakar. We could probably talk about this all day, and
forever.
A lot of people are interested in this. But where can people go to learn more about GuardDuty and runtime monitoring?
Yeah, so the GuardDuty, the AWS website, and the GuardDuty documentation, we have all the different details. And then we also released a blog about this feature that kind of walks you through all the in and outs and all the ways to enable it, use it, and make the best usage out of it. So I would recommend checking out that news blog. If you Google like GuardDuty EC2 runtime monitoring blog, you'll probably get it.
And we've got a link to the channel. Yeah. So
there we go.
Hey, Shakar, thanks for being here. Until the next time, I'm assuming there's going to be a fifth time. We'll have your jacket.
We'll see you soon.
Yeah, we'll have it pressed and ready for you at the next time. But hey, thanks for coming on. Exciting stuff.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.